But first, before we would normally do a roll call, we'll do the swearing in of our newly elected trustees. Hi, we're going to go to the podium. You guys wanna come along? Yeah, it does. Or are you going for photos? Yeah. Do you want, I was just standing close to this so that they would, but go ahead and get them. You don't want me in that.
All you guys
Mr. Pfeiffer, if you could raise your right hand. I, Adam Pfeiffer,
I, Adam Pfeiffer,
having been elected to the office of Village Trustee,
having been elected to the office of Village Trustee,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
of said office to the best of my ability.
of said office to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. We good, Warren? We're good? All right. Mr. Trutchell. Here, stand up here just in front of me. Yeah, please raise your right hand. I, Tom Trutchell,
I, Tom Trutchell,
having been elected to the office of Village Trustee,
having been elected to the office of Village Trustee,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially discharge
and will faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of said office to the best of my ability.
the duties of said office to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. If you guys want to say a couple words, you could, but if you need to be real brief, but you can do that from your seats.
Okay.
Now the board is-
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, my mouth moves faster than my mind sometimes. I forgot, they got microphones up here, so I stand at the podium and face us. Congratulations, and also to Mr. Myers, who is under the weather today. Mr. Myers has been, Trustee Myers has been sworn in. That has been done, just to make everybody aware on that. With that being said, now we can take a roll call of the seated board.
Trustee Trutchell?
Here.
Trustee Myers? President Baer?
Here.
Trustee Walschlager?
Here.
Trustee Connor?
Here.
And Trustee Lucky?
Here.
If you'd all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, it will be led by Trustee Pfeiffer.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, we have public comments for anybody from the public that would like to speak. You can move towards the podium and take the floor. Just state name and address, but the floor is yours.
Carol Landwehr, 705 Bellshire Drive. Right down the road from the mess at St. Charles. And that's why I'm here tonight. What kind of plan is there for that place? It's becoming larger and larger, and the parking stinks. 1 week we have no parking, then they finally get it through their heads to park on one side, and then they take the signs down, and then it's all over the place. And I really don't see the cops around too much. I do see them after everybody's gone, and I just think we need help down there. So what's the plan? Is there a plan, or?
We could talk after this meeting, to get you, because those are some.
Okay, well, all right.
It's a broad question with some detailed answers. There is a plan, yes.
I mean, we know, I know the plan as far as I've seen what they're building, but I just want more thought put into the people that are living around there. It is crazy, and especially when you have the parking lot, most of the time is empty or half empty, and everybody's all squeezed in there. In fact, even on the corners, and it's really tough, and it's just not on Sundays, so, as you well know. So, just thought I'd say that. Please look into that.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak in public comments? The first item on the agenda is consideration of village board minutes of the April 11th, 2022 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes from April 11th.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. The next item we have on the agenda is a consideration of the payment for the vouchers in the amount of $421,611.27.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers in the amount of $421,611.27.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay the vouchers for $421,611 and 27 cents. Go ahead, floor is yours.
I had a couple questions, and DPW's already answered some of them. The first one is regarding ambulance donations, and I meant to stop down and ask you, I apologize, I forgot. In the first section, it says coat and pants, 58,000.
Yeah, that was the bunker gear that had been approved last fall.
Okay,
It comes out of, there's that special account that people have donated money to
right.
for the fire department, so.
What did they actually get for 58,000?
20 sets of bunker gear, so the coats, the pants.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the rest of mine's already been answered, thank you.
So just to give a little background on that too, when we went through the budget process, we put money, we're using corporate reserve funds for the SCBA gear, which they did get. They had, I believe, around $98,000 of ambulance donations. They were planning on using $92,000 for, there was a whole list of items that they're using fund balance to pay for.
I'm done, thank you.
Anybody else for discussion? I will call the question. We do have a motion, correct? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item on the agenda is consideration of operators bartenders licenses. This is for Brittany Cardinal and Barry Henricks.
Make a motion to approve the operator bartender's license for the red individuals.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve those licenses for operator bartender. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. Next, we have a street use permit request. This is from Beth Arndt for a neighborhood block party at 217 Hazel Lane. The date is 5/22/22 from the time of 1 p.m. to 5 p.m.
I'll make a motion to approve the street use permit for Beth Arndt at 217 Hazel Lane.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve that street use permit. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion carries. We also have another street use permit. The applicant is Karen Hurley. The event is a neighborhood block party. This is at 603 Southern Oak Drive. This is 4/28/2022, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m.
I'll make a motion to approve the street use permit for Karen Hurley at 603 Southern Oak for 4/28/22, 5 to 9 p.m.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve this street use permit on Southern Oak.
Question? Out of curiosity, when did the permit come in for this? And the second part of the question is, just out of curiosity, is there a time frame that they have to get it in by a certain time?
So this was actually, she reached out to us because last year they did a food truck at the location. And we really still don't have an ordinance for food trucks. So we really can't police them being on the street. So this year they sent it in, I want to say about 2.5 weeks ago. We actually didn't think we were going to make this meeting. And I was going to approve it. All they're asking, they're going to put the food truck at the end of the block. That's why they have the street use permit. They were working out with police and DPW if there was a need for barricades or anything of that. It is on a cul-de-sac, but yes, we received it probably about 2 weeks ago.
What's
A little less.
do we have a specific time frame that you have to have it in by a certain time?
We don't, as long as it can make the meeting, we're
Make the
fine with
meeting?
that. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I yield.
Anybody else for discussion?
Just one little thing, the times have changed. I believe it starts at 5:30 now, and I don't have my phone, so I don't remember, but it gets done, I think, earlier. I got the
Okay,
email
so
today, it's starting
the
at
window of
5:30.
opportunity, or the time window
Yes, has shrunk.
has shrunk, but so
Yeah.
if we approve it, that fits
Right,
within it.
right.
And I think they may have had it longer for setup or takedown, not sure, so.
Okay, that could be.
Okay. We got a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Abstain.
That motion is carried. Okay, we have a few different restricted species permit requests. This is at 3 different addresses. I'll leave it up to the board to make a motion to take all 3, or they can take each one individually. But we have restricted species permit requests from Carl Baumgartner at 781 Wexford Way for 6 chickens. We have Thomas and Mallory Hellstern at 663 Oxford Drive for 6 chickens, and Jacob Zool at 306 Lawn Street for 3 chickens.
I would request that we take them individually to the board, just in case one were to come back, then we don't have to read all 3 again for another motion,
Sure.
if had. I'll make a motion to approve Carl Baumgartner at 781 for 6 chickens.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to allow the 6 chickens for Carl Baumgartner.
Past, when we've had these type of requests, we've usually gotten a drawing of how they were going to house them and keep them, and I don't even see the application or anything in here, in our packets. Was there any kind of drawing how they were going to house them and take care of them, or?
I didn't see anything. All of that is turned into the clerk, Darlene Igo, and I,
None of that was attached, and I was curious, because I know last time we had 3 chickens, I thought that was the maximum without,
Without the restricted species permit that they're coming for.
you have to have the restricted, though, even for 3.
They were all turned in.
again, we usually always ask to make sure that they're not roosters, that type of.
The neighbors will tell us if it is.
Since it isn't there in the packet, the board could table this until they get to see it, or they could approve it. There would be those options. Or they can deny it,
But
obviously.
Scott has already looked at it.
Yeah, I mean, you could make a motion making it contingent on approval from the building inspector and. Well, his approval is, I'd still think you'd want to have it in there contingent so that he's okay with the design and drawings of it.
Yeah, and I was just waiting for other commentary from the board.
Is there further definition as to how much space is needed in order to have this 6 chicken or 3 chicken coop?
We don't have an ordinance that clearly defines that. It's just that they come to the village board on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
Which I think is worth some references being made to why isn't there a drawing? Because you could have a backyard that's 60 by 40, or you could have an area that's 280 by 300, which is a big difference, you know.
Right.
Hearing no other discussion, President, I would be willing to amend my motion on the floor to bring the application for the 781 back to the village board with drawings and the actual application. if my second.
Yeah, I mean, none of these
Allow.
have any.
I was actually going to ask if I can amend, if you want to amend now. I was going to amend and say, let's do that with all of them, because none of them.
Happy to, I just have a
right.
motion on the floor for that one
Yep.
specific, so.
Yep.
And then I'm happy to move on the other two the
Sure.
same way.
I think that's the appropriate action.
Just need my
So
s-
you've got the motion to table until the next village board meeting.
Yes, sir.
With- Second that.
Can I speak to Oxford Drive?
I don't have that
Not
motion on the
yet. We're not
floor.
on there. We're not there yet.
That's
I'll
fine, we'll do
second.
it.
It's been moved and seconded to table this until our next meeting, just so that the village board, the trustees, and everybody can take a look at the information that was submitted with the application, as it was not in the packet.
I apologize, sir, and I will put May 9th as our next, I believe, our next
Yep.
board meeting.
Correct? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. We still have two more restricted species on here. Again, not all the info is in the packet.
I would like to, can we move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Make a motion. I would like to.
If you're gonna table, you can do
Table,
both.
can I do both of them?
Yeah.
I'd like to table the last two for Thomas and Mallory Helstern and Jacob, is that Zool? Until our next meeting, so we can have all the documents and review them.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, table those restricted species permits until the board can see the documents that were submitted. Go ahead.
Is there any chance, 'cause I don't
Can you just say your name and address, and then, because otherwise it's not going to pick up on YouTube?
Jake Zeal, 306 Lawn Street, so I'm the third of them. I brought my stuff here. I don't usually come here. So is there any chance, it's a little inconvenient to come back the next time?
You wouldn't necessarily have to come back, because you were already here once. We're just going to look at.
Okay,
I-
okay.
Unless there's some, well, I can't say for sure which way it'll go. There's probably a high likelihood that it's going to go through. I think the board just
Okay.
wants to do their due diligence and make sure that there's not some,
You already have the chickens? Is that the?
No,
Oh,
not yet.
okay.
Very soon though. But, okay, thank you.
Tom Halstern, 663 Oxford Drive. Just wanted to make it known that with our application at least, the drawing is attached. It was turned in on March 25th. So not sure what in addition the board would need, but there is a drawing from the Waukesha County GIS information system in that application. I don't know why you guys don't see it, but I do have that and just verify that it was attached, so.
yeah, and all we're just holding it over, so it'll be what, does this fall, it's 3? 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then we'll be able to have that just it's just verification purposes and
Okay.
making sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
For the village administrator, can you just make sure if you don't have the information that is the village clerk going to reach out?
Yep.
Or just so that the
Yeah,
individual
we'll
is in
have the
room, though?
conversation. We'll get everything added for the next packet.
Again, I want to specifically note that the parties were here. I don't think that you should be held accountable if they're.
Sure.
So we're tabling both of those. Anybody else have anything on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Okay, so now we have items that were referred from the April 18th, 2022 Plan Commission meeting. This is consideration of a conditional use permit for the operation of a preschool and child care facility for Beez Preschool and Childcare LLC. This is at 123 Lawn Street. Ken, sure. So this item did go through the Plan Commission, but if anybody has any questions for the applicants, feel free to ask them at this time.
I have one question for you. First of all, I looked at your business plan. It was pretty impressive. You guys had a lot of time and planning put into that. How's the SBA process? coming along with you?
It's coming along. We're in the final stages of it. So we should have an answer within the next 10 days.
No, I was just gonna say the same thing. I love looking at business plans, and this was very detailed, so great job.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion for a conditional use permit for the authorization of a preschool and childcare facility for Busy Beez Preschool and Childcare at 123 Lawn Street.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the conditional use permit. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. No.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, abstain.
Oh, okay.
I have to abstain by law.
Did you get it? Okay, now we have other items. Consideration of an application for a special events permit for Lake Country Bed Barn Sidewalk sale on August 27th, 2022.
Good evening, my name is Chris. I'm the Recreation Director for Village of Hartland. I've been working with Elise Miller on the sidewalk, her application for the sidewalk sale for August 27th. The event's going to be from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's going to be held on Gristmill property in their parking lot, as it was last year and previous years, and on Pauling Avenue, just west of Cottonwood. The road will be closed off during the duration of the event. The department heads did make some requests. Police requested that Gristmill has barriers and signs up saying that the alcohol has to stay on their property. And DPW director requests that all tents are freestanding, nothing is drilled into any hard surface. As of this time, Ms. Miller wrote and sent out a letter to the residents that are within 500 feet around the event. Insurance is under Bed Barn, and Village of Hartland is listed as additional insured. Are there any questions for me or Ms. Miller?
I had a couple questions. I noticed on here you said 400 participants and 200.
One second, I'm sorry. Can you say your name and who you're
Uh,
representing?
Elise Miller, owner of Lake Country Bed Barn.
Thank you. Go ahead.
You had 400 participants and 200 to 300 spectators, and vendors maxed at 70. So participants and spectators, so you're thinking you'll have maybe 800 there? Is that?
I mean, throughout the day, maybe, yeah.
If you have, with that being said, you're gonna need to get a dumpster.
We've never had trash problems.
It's in our ordinance, if you're expecting at least 500, you have to have a dumpster.
And we have dumpsters on both our properties.
If it's in the park situation, we do require them to have a dumpster.
But not there?
Not if they have their own dumpster at their business, I would say that suffice.
That's all I had to ask,
Okay.
thank you.
Anyone else?
Just a note, I think it's apparent, but I will be abstaining.
I would just say, I appreciate that you put this on for our
Yeah.
community. It's really well done.
nice.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the application for, the special events application for the Lake Country Bed Barn Sidewalk Sale on August 27th, 2022.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the application for the sidewalk sale and the operation plan that they've submitted. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I abstain. The next item that we have on the agenda is consideration of a request for the use of the Pauling Avenue Municipal parking lot for the weekly farmers market on Sunday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. from June 26th through October 23rd. We have people here to present that? Do we have any questions for the people applying for the farmers market? Has anything changed from previous years?
No, it's gonna be the same. The two parking lots we use.
Is the date range that it's taking place that's been outlined, is that pretty much been the same previous years?
Previous years, yeah, it's always been.
You guys come up to the podium, please, sir.
Yes, it's been the same for the last, well, since we took it over 4 years ago. It's been pretty much the same time.
Say your names, please.
Oh,
Wendy Adams and Greg Adams.
Thank you.
and then we also got permission from the salon to help with parking. She is allowing us, vendors and people, customers, to park into her parking lot on Sundays only.
And when Jeff was the owner of the bar, he allowed us parking over there also.
Well,
Vendors.
we would- yeah,
No,
just
and
the vendors,
we,
but
we,
we switched that up to the salon now, so.
It's great, that helps that traffic on
Yeah,
Pauling quite a
the
bit.
traffic does get
Yes.
kinda crazy down there.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got up to like 30 plus vendors last year, and we've had a whole bunch apply this year too, but we're just waiting to, on this to be the okay.
Bro,
Yeah, and we're dragging them from Muskego. People, our customers are coming from all over since we started advertising on the internet, so it's working out great.
we get
The-
a lot of really good feedback.
The only thing we had a problem with last year, I don't know, but a lot of times the bathrooms were locked down in Nixon Park. I don't know why. Is that
When
normally
you'd
on
be-
Sundays they lock them, or?
When you would be, that municipal lot doesn't come with a bathroom. I don't know exactly what time they open that.
Oh, I
up.
thought they were always open for everybody that used the park.
The bathrooms are open between 7 and 8 on the weekends.
Okay.
And then they close at dusk.
Okay.
Police
okay,
department locks
that's
them.
fine, that's fine.
So maybe if you guys were setting up at 6:30, then.
Yeah, there could have just been a couple older people went and used them. They told us they weren't open, so.
Oh.
Who knows? But yeah, that's the way we're gonna run it the same as last year.
I did have one question, and
Sure.
I did not see it in the permit process or in the application, but I know it came up in years past about the municipal lots being maybe locked down the night before. And I heard that question may have came up while the application was being submitted at the hall. I would like, if that's part of it, I think the board needs that for part of their decision to either approve or deny. I don't know if that's accurate or
Somebody
not.
called me and said that they had talked to one of you guys about it, and just for the reason of people coming out of the bars at night, you don't want them driving. So, I mean, yeah, we totally understand it, that's not the it's just that we've gone there on Sundays, and believe it or not, that lot sometimes can be pretty full from the night before. So, yeah, but, I mean, if you guys were totally fine, if that's a no,
If we're gonna continue to do this, we might wanna post a sign. And just take away night parking in those parking lots.
So I know I got the information third hand, and I didn't say a yes or a no. I think it needs to be a decision by the board. That's a municipal parking lot for the public, and the board can deem if they want to close that the night before, and the police department would be happy to do that, or leave it open. So not technically a yes or no from police, but information for the board if that is something you want consideration for.
Is overnight parking allowed in those lots?
It is.
I think it says there's a sign.
That's
that
really
says-
tough too, cause when are you gonna clear it? I mean, I gotta be careful how much I say, but what time are you gonna go clear it? At 3? You know what I mean?
12:01.
There's plenty of street parking over there.
Has there been times in the past that there have been cars left that it becomes difficult to maneuver the farmer's
Yeah,
market?
because then all the market people come and they put their tents up. So we've got certain areas where they gotta go, and if the car's there, they just put their tent in front of the car, and then the people come, like around 11 or 12 o'clock, and they're like, how am I supposed to get my car out? So then we gotta break everything down, to get their cars out for them, which
We made it work.
we made
If
it
it has to
work,
be,
but,
because we hate to not have the market, but it would be nice if,
I wouldn't wanna be the person who wanna pick up my car.
yeah.
A walk of shame.
That's what they do too, it's usually they walk through the middle of the market doing this.
We'll look into the posting and that kind
Okay,
of thing, so
that's
we'll take it
fine.
under consideration.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you.
Appreciate that.
I'll make the motion then to approve the use of Pauling Avenue Municipal Parking Lot for the weekly farmers market on Sundays from 9 to 1, from June 26th through October 23rd.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the request for the use of Pauling Avenue municipal lots for a weekly farmers market on Sundays from 9 AM to 1 PM, June 26th through October 23rd.
May I request that then at the next board meeting, we have that discussion about the parking lot, so that if the business community in that area wants an opportunity to weigh in, I would appreciate to hear from them.
Sure.
Thank you.
I would further ask that, can we see if we can't get some type of a sign? I know it costs money, but I think it'd be appropriate, or at least
That's-
let's brainstorm and think about,
That's a good
you know,
idea.
what we are gonna do over there.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. It's gonna be tough a little bit. I can't, you'll have to come up with it, but I think we'll have to tape it off at some point or something, but.
I think we could get some type of sign saying parking lot closed for special event, and then we could cone it off,
Yep, okay,
just so people are aware of what's going on,
yep,
if approved by the board.
sure.
Do you want either of our phone numbers for any contact for anybody if there is ever a problem or question that you need? to-
It's on there.
It's on the
Okay,
application.
okay, sorry.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. The next item that we have on the agenda, thank you guys very much. The next item we have on the agenda is consideration of Resolution 418, 2022, a resolution in support of Town of Lisbon Incorporation.
So with this, I was approached by the administrator for the town of Lisbon. They are looking to incorporate into becoming a village. Other surrounding communities have signed a resolution similar to this. They have a border agreement with the Village of Sussex in place that took 2 years for them to kind of come up with a border agreement. This isn't asking for a border agreement for us. This is just asking that the village say we're fine with this.
Don't close the door.
We gotta leave it open though. So again, this is just a resolution saying that the Village of Hartland would be in support of the Town of Lisbon becoming a village to incorporate. It's part of the articles needed to file with the state of Wisconsin. This isn't getting us into a border agreement or anything like that. Both Mertens have signed it. They have an agreement with the Village of Sussex for a border agreement. So it's just one of the steps they're taking to try and incorporate.
Know how the discussion went with the Village of Menomonee Falls?
I do not. Do you? I just talked with Kathy Nicholas, and some of the communities around us have signed it, but I'm not aware.
Just in some brief discussions I've had, it doesn't appear that there's negative consequences to allowing them to move forward to become incorporated.
Well, so that's the other thing. So essentially a village, when you're a town, we can annex, a village can annex from a town. So by becoming a village, they would obviously be able to hold some of the property. Their major neighbor was the Village of Sussex, where they have a lot of surrounding property. With us, we just butt up against them up by Windrush subdivision, and there's no developable land in our comprehensive plan that is Lisbon. So really Sussex and Lisbon, they've been working at this for 2 years to work something out. They approached us 2 years ago and we said, like, we'll discuss this when you two
Figure that out.
Yeah, when you have an agreement, and they're there, so.
They've got a meeting coming up the 29th at the Waukesha County. I'd like to make a motion, we accept their incorporation plans to move forward.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the resolution 418, 2022, a resolution in support of Town of Lisbon Incorporation. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Abstain.
That motion is carried. At this time, we have the presentation by our fire chief for the Fire Department 2021 Annual Report. Chief?
Good evening. Just gonna hit some high points of the letter, and then we'll run through, if anybody has any questions on any pages, please feel free to ask, and I'll answer what I can. So, 1,019 calls we ran last year, most ever by Hartland Fire Department. It was a 4% increase from 2020 and a 19.3% increase over the last 5 years. We were without 2 of our full-time personnel for 6 months and used part-time personnel to fill those spots. Staffing shortages have hit us, this department. We had 6 paramedics besides our 3 full-timer personnel, and those 6 were the ones that covered those open full-time shifts with those personnel. So of those 6, right now, 2 of them have been hired. Actually, 3 of them have been hired by full-time departments, 1 with the City of Brookfield, 1 with Western Lakes, and 1 is in the process at Menomonee Falls right now. So while they will remain with us, which they told me they would, obviously their time will be less in the foreseeable future. So just some of the things we touched on. Obviously, the residents of this village, when I started back here 28 years ago, everybody on the fire department was a resident of the village of Hartland. So there was a 100% input from the village on their fire and EMS service. So at this time, out of our 58 members, we have 15 members that live in the village, in the actual village of Hartland. And of those, 12 are good, solid, running all week, every week for us. Just a discussion that we're going to need to have to look at in the future for staffing and the way the village wants to go from here on out. We are focusing on our mental and physical health of our personnel. Obviously, COVID-19 hit us as well as it hit all the other parts of the village. We have started a new CrossFit training the last week, and it's all on a voluntary basis. I believe the first night there were only 2 that showed up, but I was there for 2 of the 3 nights last week, and there was like 8 or 10 of us there. So it beats you up pretty good, but it's a lot of fun. Obviously, we continue our community support on fire prevention programs and all the events that we go to, and we'll go through that list when we get into it. With all of the challenges of our fire department, we remain one of the best trained, and that was witnessed by the Summit Lakes Fire. We were given national accolades and a lot of local accolades also, and we'll go kind of through that also. Couple of the big things that happened last year, New Year's Day, sorry dear, we delivered a baby. It is my wife, which is a captain on our department. That's one of her last things that she wants to do before she retires, and she was on the call, the opposite call to that, so she was less than happy. And still salty. So the family we invited them to one of our meetings shortly after that. The mom presented all of the crew with stork pins, and the ambulance was adorned with a stork sticker with the baby's name and birth date on it, and the baby then was presented a lifetime membership to HFD. So getting into the report, first page is our call volume, and that's just broken down by calls. 2020, 2021. 2020 we had 979 calls for service, and 2021 was 1,019. Those are broken down. Town of Merton fire calls were 16, Hartland fire calls were 181, Town of Merton EMS calls were 71, and Hartland EMS calls were 751. So next page is just our chain of command, which has changed a little bit this year with a few promotions and retirements. The next page goes into the revenues. So we billed out $627,966.43 in ambulance charges. Our gross revenue was $273,574.50. Our fee to life quest was $23,042.72, and then our service revenue was $250,531.78. So it just kind of goes through the different stages, and we have one of the best initial phase 1 collections. Our phase 2 collections and our phase 3 collections those are soft collections, and then the hard collections after that. So we increased our rates last year in June of 2021. So that was the first time those rates had increased since 2018 when we became a paramedic service. Next sheet just goes into certifications that were achieved. You can read through them. I won't go through all of those for you. So next page is fire inspections, training, education, and public relations. So we do 626 fire inspections every year. Of those, there was maybe 10% that had to be re-inspected for some type of violation. We wrote no violations after that, so they all complied. So our trainings, our explorers trained 8 times last year. Our trainings we held were 31 trainings. We had 26 student ride-alongs. We had 4 blood drives last year, 6 CPR trainings, and public relations, we had 55 events, and fire prevention was 34 different events. So next couple of pages just kind of go through all of those relations, public relations, and the education parts of it. I won't go through all those because there's a lot. So again, notable EMS calls, the birth of the baby on January 1st. They came on February 2nd. So again, each crew member received a pin to add to their uniform, and then the sticker was placed on the back of our second ambulance. Next page shows the family with all the EMS personnel that were there. We had a mass casualty event at AHS at their cross-country beat on August 27th, 21, and that was like the second or third time we've had major issues up there with that meet. So we had 9 total patients. 4 of them were transported to the hospital, and 5 were triaged and left to their parents. So it starts usually about 3 o'clock, and we usually have an ambulance staffed and standing by up there with all of their personnel, and it just gets crazy, especially when it's warm out. So they actually, after those couple of incidents, they actually took the next few races and knocked them down from 5Ks to 3Ks. So then the next was the structure fire on Millington Lane. Just kind of going through that. Just goes to our training. When I arrived on scene first, DC Walker was second. By the time we met, we had a plan in place, and this is a particular area that we train a lot for because there's no sprinklers in those apartments. They're all wood frame construction. So when bad things happen, it goes quick, and we want to be prepared. So we met, we had the same thought. We both said it the same, what we were going to do. Our truck got on scene. Our officers got off, and they were already on the same page. They had that fire knocked down in 38 seconds. So he had a crew on the backside, went into the building, did a quick search of that one, and then searched all 4 other apartments in that group. And then we did end up, we had one of the apartment residents came up to us towards the end and said their cat was still in there. And we'd gone in, the ceiling had collapsed in the apartment from the water, and they actually found the cat underneath the ceiling in a bunch of insulation. So, and she was fine. She was wet. Departments on that call: Lake Country, Merton, Lisbon, Western Lakes, Village of Waukesha, Vernon, North Prairie, Town of Brookfield, City of Brookfield, Pewaukee, Menomonee Falls, Test Corners, McGuanago, City of Waukesha. And then the police agencies that helped us, our police agency, actually their first couple of officers went 4 apartments down and started evacuating everybody in that whole building. So they had, by the time our next engine got there, they had that whole building evacuated for us. So it was Hartland PD, City of Delafield, Shaniqua, Waukesha Sheriff's Department, and the DNR even showed up. So our next big fire was the brush fire in the Union Pacific Railway in Menomonee Falls, and our grass rig was up there and running around that part of the county, putting out smaller fires. We also got toned out at the same time for mutual aid with Lisbon, because that same train that started that fire actually started a fire in the pit over on Plainview, and so we were over there working with them for the rest of the afternoon. So my personnel in those 2 days saw more fire, more active big fire than they have in a long time. So next event was the structure fire. We were with Lake Country Fire on. That was at Pick and Save in Village Square. That was the semi. My deputy chief, Rob Little, was the first on scene there and took command until Lake Country got there. Next one is our fire department COVID vaccination center. We were a vaccination center for the COVID-19. We had 2 events, and I think we administered like 40 vaccines to different personnel. Those were all the Tier 1 or Group 1A, so they had to have either an EMS license or be on a fire department or a signed letter from their employee, and then they had to show an employee ID, so before we'd give them that. A couple of smaller ones, animal rescue, confined space rescue in a storm sewer. That time of year will be coming shortly. Our trainings, ice rescue training. Every year we do an ice rescue training, usually either on NAG or I think this year they were out in Merton on North Lake. So just some of the other big events that we do. We did a drafting and water movement at Centennial Park. Took the 2 new engines in our tender and just timed everything on how it was set up and used that way. So a couple more pictures of Buck River Explorers. They were doing an ambulance overview. So these kids are 14 years old to 21 years old, and then they can come in. We've saved some old gear for them, and along with Merton and Lisbon. So they get gear, they get to train like we do. Obviously the only thing they can't do is go into structure fires or anything like that, but we send them through the Lake Country's confidence course, SCBA confidence course, let them run through that. Events of the year, Pancake Breakfast from 2021. That was our first time back doing pancakes after all the fun. Then we had the stuffed truck and fill the boot for 2021. Kids from St. Charles did a food collection and came down with their wagon train, as you can see by the one picture, to drop off a ton of food for us. We were at the ribbon cutting for the outdoor ice rink, and Santa showed up. And then we had a couple of retirements. Jeff Vernon retired after 18 years of service. He was a firefighter and a motor pump operator. A couple funny things about Jeff. He also was a really good trainer for our extrication team. So he got that hard hat from the extrication team, and then a traffic cone. So his nickname was Traffic Cone. There was an incident where all he had to do was cone off part of the parking lot at Arrowhead for a traffic accident, and Merton came in as a backup and ran over the cones. So that's how he got his nickname. And then Deputy Chief Little, after 11 years of service, retired at the end of December. So that's pretty much an overview of our year.
Sorry.
I was gonna ask questions, but I don't think with it not being on there, I don't know how close I can get with that. I was just gonna, well, that's, yeah, never mind. I don't have any questions.
I have just a role. The drafting and water movement, can you just briefly, what is that exactly?
So obviously the village of Hartland is all hydranted. So we use hydrants on all the fires in the village. Town of Merton, areas that we cover, they don't have hydrants. So we have to be able to put a drop tank down which holds about 3,000 gallons of water, and then draft out of that tank and supply the water to the fire. So that's just our way of practicing that, plus the other areas that we are first response to or second response to, they obviously don't have hydrants either. So we have to be knowledgeable on drafting and water movement instead of being able to just hook up to a hydrant.
I guess that's just something I never thought of.
Sure.
That's awesome. Thank you.
With that being the end of the presentation, we would move on to the next item. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely.
Or appropriate? So the next item, thank you very much for that presentation, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Done.
Yeah, well done.
The next item would be consideration of an agreement with Douglas Brom Associates related to the 1938 fire truck.
So this is a draft document. Anything you guys want changed or words added or words taken out or whatever you want to do, we will do it. He just put this together. And actually the picture up there, that's the truck that we are talking about, so.
It'll still be insured by us, owned by us, everything by us, correct?
Correct.
We can use it whenever?
We can use it whenever, yep.
So we will own it
We will still own it, right. They're
It's just
gonna,
at the museum?
yeah, it'll be at his museum, and then he was just talking about, you know, he's gonna make sure everything works, he's gonna change oil on it, just keep it all up to date. Talking to him the other day, his big thing is he wants to find a ladder, the appropriate ladders that fit on that truck. So he's looking to do that, and again, that would all become part of the villages if and ever we want it back, so.
Did we run this agreement by our insurance company just to see if they had any issues with it, or that our insurance covers and they're comfortable?
We talked, I know Ryan had made some, you know, we had talked initially about who was gonna insure it, and Ryan checked with the insurance company, and they were fine with it, so.
So essentially, this is liability only. There's nothing else on this. I mean, with this agreement, everything should be noted that there's no driving it around. I mean, essentially, it would come here, go on our parade, go back. And if somebody else wanted to use it, I don't know if that runs through you or Doug or how, but same as we had it right now, it sits. It doesn't have, yeah.
Another location, okay.
Did we run this by legal?
That was my question.
We had talked about it, but it was still in a draft form. Ryan had said that he wanted to bring it to you guys first before.
Yep,
doing
and
anything
like I
with
said,
that.
we wanted to talk to insurance. I mean, Hector's gonna be a business decision with anything he chooses. The liability of this is them housing it in their facility. It's still under our insurance, still covered by us. So, I mean, we can ask Hector, but he's gonna tell you it's a business decision whether you want to allow someone else to have it in their possession or not.
Chief, where's it stored now?
Right now, it's at Lisbon Station on Good Hope. They're kind of redoing that station, and so they're looking at trying to get it out of there as quick as we can, so.
You stored an active fire department, fire station?
Yep.
Where it's gonna be stored in essentially a warehouse where people can go and appreciate
Correct.
antique and nice fire trucks?
Correct.
The only thing that I was looking at is that we at least add the location of where it's going to be stored to the agreement, so the address of where it would be stored.
Sure.
I also would say that I would just want to make sure that the agreement states that you or our village is contacted if the truck needs to move for any reasons, maybe they're cleaning the inside. If we're liable for it and they break it, that's the only thing, is that could get a little
Sure.
tricky on our end, so I really want to make sure that we know that somebody else is in the truck or moving the truck, or, you know, things happen.
One of the reasons, sorry.
No, I'm done, thank you.
One of the reasons that I wanted to at least have legal take a look at it, I mean, I think this is a great idea, but we do have agreements that we come across, that they made years and years and years ago, but all of a sudden, when we're making it, it's like, no, we know how this works, but 30 years from now,
Sure.
you have a board that's like, what were they thinking? You know, because they don't know, we can't even find that agreement, you know, so, I mean, I think with the world of electronics, it makes it a little better, but we run into that stuff, that's why I think it's good to make sure maybe there's some, you know, there's boilerplate wording that has to be in there just to make sure we're protected, or 20 years from now when that museum, a new owner takes over or whatever, and they're like, that's not your truck. You can buy it from us though, and it's like,
Sure.
you know.
Do we have a legal agreement for it to be in the town of Lisbon currently? Is it insured over there? Is it still under us the same way?
It's still under us the same way, yes.
So, do we have any room to house this here?
I have no room to put it anywhere.
Okay, Lisbon's running out of room. So that's why all this is coming forward. We can absolutely go through legal, but it's sitting at another fire department 5 blocks from here, where if they backed into it, it's on us too. So, we have no place to put it in Hartland.
Well, and I was just saying that I think, like, if Hector looks at it and says, yeah, that's good. I mean, the fear there is all of a sudden it becomes a 10-page document instead of a 1-page. But I'd rather, I mean, obviously I always err on the side of caution, and it would not be cool if all of a sudden it's like, oh, if you would have had this in there, but now, you know, possession's 9/10 of the law, and they had it for 15 years, it's theirs.
Sure. Yeah, we can.
I mean, I can think of something
That's
I'm
the way
going
you
through
wanna
right
do
now
it,
in
we'll
life
act-
where there's like this question of, is that yours or is it not yours? Because it's been there a long time and, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We can send it to him if you want.
Just,
if that's
and,
where you want to
and
go.
I'm not doing it to create, I mean, it's
And,
doing due
again, this is-
diligence, I think,
this
with
is just a
something like
draft,
that.
so yeah.
Because
I-
Hartland never gets that back. If,
Right.
you know, if something happened, but if someone did, like, you know what I mean, if someone got the
Mm-hmm.
chance to take it, they're like, no, legally I'm covered, it's mine now, it'd be like,
Right.
Yeah, and I also would state too with that, off of President's point, which I think is excellent, it talks about in, I think it's in number, pardon me, it's off the top of my head, number 8, under what they would agree to, which is we'll conduct routine maintenance. We could just firm up like what that means, routine maintenance as
Sure.
well, just so that you're aware that they're touching
Right.
your truck that we are liable for, right? Just, and I think if that becomes part of our agreements, it's just a little helpful.
Yeah, he kind of spells out, oil and fluid changes,
Yep.
brakes, tires, battery, and other routine services,
Whatever
so.
they are, and when, just as long
Right.
as you know, like, hey,
Yeah.
we're going in next week, it's
So,
scheduled to go in.
In talking to him, he's going to keep a log of everything. So
say a log
he's
would
gonna
be
log
Perfect.
maintenance, he's gonna log anything they add to it. Any place that, we take it, if we bring it back for parades here, he was actually talking about maybe taking it to a show or two, because he's in some fire truck club, and so he would like to take it to one of those shows at some point. So he's gonna log everything. He said he's gonna have logbooks on that truck and everything that gets done to it, so.
Chief, where is it that it's stored?
It's out at the Lisbon Station on Good Hope Road.
And the proposal, where's the address?
I'd have to get that from him. He's got a storage facility in Waukesha somewhere,
Okay,
a warehouse that he has, so where he's putting all of his other collections, so. I don't exactly know what the address is. I'll have to find that out for you.
At the end of the day, the guys are gonna be doing us a favor. We need to put this thing somewhere. I agree that some due diligence is probably a good idea. Would it make sense to put a motion on the floor contingent on kind of a blessing by Hector? Or do we wanna take this back?
Yeah, I think I think it goes to
Yeah.
the staff level at this point, if enough people on the board, I mean,
Yeah,
I
as
think it's a
long as
great
Things
idea.
that we brought up get placed in the agreement. I
Right.
think that would be fine.
any other ones that you
I mean, this is a draft, to your point,
Right,
Chief.
correct. Yeah, so I've got the village knowledge of any movement and then an address of the storage facility, and then we'll send it to Hector.
I'll make a motion that we move forward with an agreement with Douglas Brom Associates related to the 1938 fire truck, contingent on the things that Chief just mentioned, and a final blessing from Hector.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to move forward and pending the, I don't even want to call them contingencies, pending some of the,
Additions.
yeah, stuff that needs to be looked into before they actually move forward with it, but that's at a staff level. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion is carried. Okay, now we have, this one. Discussion related to creation of a food truck ordinance.
So I emailed one of our attorneys, giving him the board's desire for changes, how everyone wanted to kind of cut it down, make it smaller. They were not on board with that. They didn't like that it kind of cut through the legal teeth for police to have to enact the ordinance. So he kept it the same. He's willing to change some things, and I'm bringing it to you if you want the village attorney to come to a meeting. Chris Kenke is the one who was looking at this. Originally, it sounded like the board kind of wanted to cut it down to 5 lines, and he is not a big fan of that legally. So I don't know if you want to have him come to a meeting to kind of explain it, or if you guys want to take a shot at the 4 pages we have here and update some of it to how you guys want, but kind of just going in circles with this policy.
I had a question on, what page is this? Page 2, number D, or letter D, where it says mobile food vendors are not allowed on village streets. And then E says mobile food vendors are allowed to operate in the village, and then it goes on to say other things. Shouldn't that, unless I'm confused with what I'm looking at, shouldn't it say are not allowed to operate on village streets?
Well, D is just saying they're not allowed on streets. E is saying they're allowed in certain places, the parks, that type of thing.
So I'm reading this, if you take it to that letter, it's saying that they're not allowed to drive on our streets, period. But I'm reading this to mean they can't operate.
Well, we can't ban any vehicle from driving on our streets, so I think
Well,
we
I know,
lose
but
that.
that's how this is stated. That's how
Okay.
I read it when I looked at it. But isn't the intent not to operate on village streets?
Correct.
Without being invited by a party or someone?
Depends on your definition of operate.
I think we
Operating
use-
a vehicle is driving it. so.
Whatever.
No, I hear what you're saying. I want to throw in, though, if we say you can't operate on city streets or municipal streets.
Well, because it goes down.
What if you
here
have a
and it-
block party that's having one?
Well, but it goes down
But
here. and it
never
talks
mind,
about
you're right, though,
you have
because
to be
that's
on
selling food,
private.
they would pay for all that food, and it would just be like they're handing,
Yeah.
okay, got it, sorry, took me.
I think she's just.
Heads catching up.
The intent of this is so they don't just park in front of
Correct.
ABC
Yep.
restaurant and start
Yep.
selling at noon.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
And the word operate is used throughout, so.
Yes.
I would agree with trustee Walschlager. Meaning operating is being used and defined in this ordinance as though the business is running at that time. The vehicle is not being driven.
Hold on, can you repeat that again?
I'm just saying, I think she is, and I don't want to speak for you, trustee Walschlager, but I think your point is that for D, just to add the word operate, since it's used in other areas of the ordinance,
Is not allowed to operate,
operate,
correct.
and that the definition of operate for this ordinance is thus that the actual food truck is operating as a business and not operating as mobily driving, correct? Yes. Okay.
So that's what we've been trying to get. Essentially, the village board does not want them to be allowed on the public streets, which I understand. They're allowed in parks. They go through a normal process for that. That's what we're looking at. We'd have to, I heard some people say they don't want it at public businesses. Some people do want it at public businesses. We were trying to make a simple policy that essentially would say, they'd have to come to the village board for approval. That he just didn't like the teeth behind that. So we have to go through quite a process to get this approved. It'll go through readings, everything of that nature. I just wanted to bring it back to let you know, we did talk to the attorneys. He was not comfortable cutting it to a document that was a little bit less because it makes the enforcement of the ordinance a little tougher for our police. So if we want, I can bring this forward starting next meeting to start the process of readings, and we can adjust things on the way and go through the last reading. Or we can have the attorney come in and just have a discussion on why it can't be shorter, what we can or can't do, whatever the board would like.
So there's been some discussion of a permit for one day or a permit for the entire year, correct? In that permit, it would be defined where specifically that truck is going to be parked to be serving food. So, I mean, that's where the vehicle's operating to sell its food products and beverages. The term operate, I know it's a broad term, but, they got to get from point A to point B, but everybody knows the food truck is going to be settled in on one given spot as defined by the permit. But at least I like the road we're heading down where you're trying to define, okay, if they're going to ask for a one-day permit, it's going to cost X. What that X is, we don't know right now, but if they're going to be around throughout the summer, then that's another price we need to establish, I think.
So, yeah, and to give you a little background with that, once we have the ordinance in place, just like any other ordinance, we have fees for everything. As Chief just mentioned, we have ambulance fees. We have fees for everything that we bring forward for the village board to approve. So it would be a number that could change annually, and, this is our first shot at the ordinance. There's going to be things that obviously will probably change with it, or fees change, that type of thing. But we can definitely get something in here that, lists, because we've talked about that. One day is X fee, 3 days, a whole year, whole summer, when do they operate, so. Again, we can always have something in here that says, they may always come to the village board for appeal of any process. We do that with the banner policy, so.
So that the board knows, I think it's important that people do know, and there's a reason that there's 3 readings, and it is there so we get it out for the public. But the board does have a few swings at this. So I would encourage that along the way, if there's stuff that people have, bring it and we'll start, these are I don't know how to say it, in a grander scale of things, like when you, not saying that we are like this, but like in Washington DC, that's what they sit and do. They're like, take that out or I'm not voting for it, and they do all this stuff and they end up with what they're gonna get, and they keep on doing it until they got the votes. Now, we can't talk to each other, but it's appropriate that we say stuff like, no, I don't want this in there. That's what those readings are for, even if we spend 20 minutes a meeting. But then staff can go and take it and say, okay, let's do this. So I'm kind of throwing out there, I think it'd be a great idea to get an extra few steps while people read this and really go in depth. We move forward, the attorney's kind of telling us what to do, but if people get an extra 2 weeks, and we'll do the first reading next meeting. And then we'll plan on the second and the third, but so that means you're gonna have 3 times to really say, no, I don't like this, or I like this. And if we don't get through this and have a, yes, you may. Please state your name and address.
Hi, Donna Doro, 180 East Capitol Drive. I'm just going to speak for the food truck briefly because I do know that other businesses have it. I guess my thing is that you keep talking about the streets, but we're not talking about private businesses. And if me being a business owner, if someone opened up their shop and had what I was selling in front of their shop, I would be angry about it. So I guess the people that want to have food trucks in front of their businesses, then they could have a kitchen in their business. Because I don't think the village board stops anyone from building a kitchen or building whatever. If you are buying a business and you want to proceed with the business, then I think it should be in your business plan. But to have an outside food truck that's going to just allow to make money off of the businesses that could have made money, that's where I have an issue. So I just want to say that I didn't hear you guys talk about the private venues. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
She just misses talking.
Floor's still yours, are you good? No, I'm kidding.
Yield?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I was gonna say, I agree that we should start the readings. I don't see a need to have an attorney come in and additional costs for this. We should be able to hammer this out ourselves.
Yeah, I just want everyone to understand it's, it's very imperfect. We don't have issues right now. We just want to have something in place so
Yep.
we can avoid the issues, and I don't know that anybody gets anything right on the first try, so I'm sure there will be changes needed in the future.
I know it's not uncommon to see food trucks in industrial parks. I travel around southeastern Wisconsin. I'm in various industrial parks in Milwaukee, suburban areas, and you've got food trucks parked right outside a couple businesses. They may not have an effective cafeteria, and their employees just absolutely love it. So I think those are just things to be considered when the permit is applied for. What's the plan? Where do they want to position that? And then we can put better thought into it to make the right decision. And also, we as a board need to sit down and talk about what are the numbers that are appropriate for a daily permit versus a multi-day or a season.
So again, this item was just discussion. I will bring it forward. So it sounds like it would get, reading 1 would be May 9th, reading 2 would be May 23rd. We would be into early June. So if you have changes, recommendations, please email me just so we can bring them up to the village board. So.
And with that, I really want to encourage emailing as opposed to, you can just bring it to the meeting. I can't force you. I'm just suggesting to make things faster, the village will get something fixed if you ask for it in that ordinance, or at least we'll start marking in red. So we'll be able to see, Trustee Ludke said, requested this change. Trustee Connor suggested this. Trustee Pfeiffer suggested this, on and on down the line.
Name something after me, if you're gonna have one.
But I really do think it's, it helps in facilitating that instead of just waiting at the meeting, because then you forget stuff too. So I'm just encouraging that. there's really, well, consideration, oh, no, this was just discussion. Okay, we're perfect. Yep.
No, we're good.
So we don't need to do anything with that. At this time, on our agenda, we have consideration of appointments to lots of different boards and review, boards. Most of this was put on simply because I had not provided a list to the, I had not provided a list for the clerk or the administrator to put in that list. So for this board, I'm going to present the items that are not changed, or I'm going to suggest my appointments that would not be any change. We do have a vacancy on library board. I'm not touching that today. I don't have an approval to bring to you today. I think we'll be fine with that. We have a strong library board and a strong library director. But the appointments I have, and however you guys take them, whether it's a whole grouping, whether you take them one at a time. Delafield a while back had started to put citizens, which is allowable according to the agreement with Delhart. They put citizens on and not just trustees or village presidents or mayor. And so I would like to continue with that crew that's on Delhart right now, and now those should be changing to a citizen. I mean, it's no difference, it's still the same person, but I would like to appoint Donna Dorrell on that commit for Delhart. Again, the change there, I would ask that on our website that we change, if it's approved, let's get that email changed or taken off because it's showing the Village of Hartland one. For Park, I have Tim Hallquist, Shantae DeBoer. For Police and Fire Commission, a reappointment of Chris Rebholz. For Plan Commission, I have Jeff Bierman, Trustee Walschlager, and myself, the village president, which by state law has to be the chair of that meeting. Oh, also on Delhart, they have me listed as the alternate. I can stay with that.
Repeat those one more time. Just
Sure.
so,
Delhart, Donna Dorrell, Jeff Vanderstill, alternate. Park, Tim Hallquist, and Shantae DeBoer. Police and Fire Commission, Chris Rebholz. Plan Commission, a joint architectural and plan commission, Jeff Bierman, citizen, Ann Walschlager, trustee, Jeff Vanderstill, chair of that commission as specified in the state law. The village president has to be the chair of the plan commission.
I'll make a motion to approve the appointees of the different boards per readings from Jeff.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the list. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion is carried. Now, I should have said it in discussion. I'm going to say it anyways, especially for people that are coming onto the board. Adam, you've been on the board, Trustee Pfeiffer, you've been on the board for some time. Trustee Trutchell, you're getting on, please think about areas that you guys would like to go to, or if there's something, it doesn't mean you might not get on it right now, but it is always good to be thinking ahead so that we're ready for next year and follow. But you know what you want to get involved into, stuff like that. Sometimes it's hard to get trustees to go to places, so there's a lot of different boards, ECOS, Environmental Corridor, and Open Spaces. You'll be hearing some more about that as we get into some of these meetings, but please start thinking about a little bit of that. And definitely don't hesitate to let me know. And if you have volunteers that do want to get more involved with the village, I mean, do not hesitate to go on and do the volunteer form or contact Darlene Eigel, our clerk, you know, so that more people can get involved if they want to. Okay. Announcements. Oh, I'm sorry, did we take the vote? I didn't take the vote. Did I? Oh, okay, sorry. Good thing we're at the end. It's a lot to keep track of.
I might have a real short announcement. And my announcement is I'm really honored to be part of this board. As a new trustee for Hartland, I've lived here for the past 25 years and in the area for about 30, and fell in love with this village, and I want to do everything I can do to keep my ears to the ground to really have a good feel for what the people of Hartland want. And I'm looking forward to working with everybody on this board, so.
Welcome.
Kind of along those same lines, I was previously appointed to the board and didn't have to go through the process of election, and having gone through that and knowing that the Village of Hartland also wanted me to be on the board, it felt very good. So I appreciate the votes and I appreciate the support, and I look forward to serving a full 2 years.
Can I say something? Hi. Just a reminder, this Saturday is the Bark River Bash in Nixon Park from 9 to 2. It's a joint event with Hartland Kiwanis and the BID, and the rec department will also be a vendor there. So stop by, say hi. But just want to remind everybody.
Just a couple quick things. Our new squads, Squad 2 and 4, have been fully changed over. So we'll be putting the old squads, which are parked out in the lot, on our auction site, and they'll go as we have typically done and as approved by the board in fall. We have moved one police officer candidate onto our background process from our PFC interviews. If everything looks good, we'll do a contingent offer, going through our psychological and our medical assessment. And if everything looks good there, we'll make a final offer of employment. If it would be the case, this officer would join us with 3 years of full-time law enforcement experience. So she should be able to hit the ground running. This week is National Crime Victim Rights Week. And in that week, the DA's office always recognizes a police officer that they feel bring a lot to victims' rights. And Detective Paula Hoffa was selected as an award recipient from our DA's office. And we'll be going tomorrow morning to the city of Waukesha, their new city hall, and she'll be receiving an award for that. And an honorable mention, also from Village of Hartland, they select a business every year, and LC Pets has been selected. So Hartland is representing 2 of the 3 awards from the DA's office.
So that's cool.
And then finally, just a reminder, our administrative assistant, Nora Santella, is retiring after over 22 years of service with the police department, May 2nd. So this is her last week of employment. And Lori Matula Barr will be replacing her, so she'll be moving from part-time to full-time. And then we actually had a couple of our other applicants from the full-time process express interest in part-time. So we're currently doing background checks on 2 candidates, and we'll select the most qualified from there.
Not that you haven't heard enough from me tonight, but Saturday also is our extrication fundraiser over at the Manor on Highway 83 from 5 to 11. So stop in. We have a band. We have food from Enters. Should be a good time. We got our SCBAs in. They were put into service on Tuesday last week, so they're on every one of the rigs. A couple of the guys have used our extra ones for school and absolutely love them. The way they feel, they're built for a firefighter now. So we also have our gear that was put into service about the same time. And then also our MDCs, our mobile data centers for the rigs, have been installed. We're still looking to do a little training on them before we go live with those. But so it's been a busy couple of weeks getting everybody trained up on all of the new stuff in the station. So for those of you that didn't make our dinner, I gave out awards, our firefighter of the year, our EMT of the year, and our motor pump operator of the year. So it was Eric Roos for firefighter of the year, Teresa Woodward for EMT of the year, and Jim Wren for motor pump operator of the year. We gave out one other award, which we had never done before. So I'll kind of read you a little thing. Hopefully I can get through it. So this was the Waukesha Christmas Parade incident. Jacob Notch was a witness to this tragedy and responded immediately without hesitation and without regard for his own personal safety. Remember, this was an active crime scene and the police were scouring the area on high alert armed with their AR-15s. Here's a summary of Jacob's actions. He witnessed the vehicle strike a woman who was directly across the street from his vantage point. She flew up on the hood, rolled off, and was run over by the vehicle as it sped away. Jacob immediately left his family and ran to the woman. He made a quick determination that she was beyond help. Remember, this is a guy who was currently enrolled in EMT Basic, but was nowhere near finished with his education, yet he began the tough task of triage in this mass casualty scene. Jacob quickly moved to a group of injured people who were nearby. He went person to person, checking on their status and determining who needed immediate help. It was 3 to 5 minutes before a Waukesha Police Department officer arrived. Jacob identified himself to the officer, and together they began tagging the wounded. So in mass casualty incidents, we have tags we put on them. They're green, yellow, red, and black. So you can guess what the blacks are. So Jacob came in contact with a 60-year-old woman. I won't give her name. He initially assessed her as yellow, so just below walking and just before immediate transport in the red. Sometime later, Jacob decided to recheck these patients that he had tagged. By this time, some of them, including this lady, had been moved to a staging area. When Jacob found her, he noticed that her level of consciousness was worse than before. Also, she was shocky, had slurred speech, and wasn't responding appropriately to his questions. Jacob made the decision to upgrade her to red. He summoned the police officer and insisted that they find an ambulance to transport her immediately. As luck would have it, an ambulance appeared nearby, and they corralled it for this lady. The information that follows was given to Jacob by Lori when they met just a couple weeks ago. Sorry, Lori. The ER doctor at Menomonee Falls determined that she had a punctured lung and 2 holes in her aorta. She was immediately transferred to Freighter, where she was rushed into surgery. She's making a full recovery, and thanks in part to Jacob's actions that night in the street. So we awarded him the Medal of Valor.
I can't beat Jacob. That is awesome.
President, I just wanted to say thank you to Jay Williams, who retired off of the library board. He served a couple of decades for the community and the library, and I wish him well in his move and his time with his family.
Else? I have a couple. Welcome to our newest trustee, Tom Trutchell, and Mr. Pfeiffer, our 2 newest elected trustees. I know you served on an appointment, but came in when someone else resigned. But looking forward to the future with you guys, and going through another year of fun board work. I do think that a lot is going really well in Hartland, like we just talked about some of those awards and nominations that people are up for. I mean, I don't know, there's a feeling around this village, I'll tell you that, and we're doing something right. And I think some of that is that we always do what we say we're gonna do. And, man, I'll tell you, we very seldom fail. We had a meeting that I missed, unfortunately, this morning at 9 a.m. But it was a meeting that completed the TIF 6, the money exchange is the best way I can say it. But so that is done. The village no longer has a TIF that is projected that will be in a shortfall, and the taxpayers stuck with that. So that is done. That's good. It was a long time getting there. The stuff that's going on around the village, I feel like it is really, really good. But we do have our hometown celebration, and anybody that knows any business people or anybody that actually cares about Hartland that does, businesses or huge, large organizations that want to donate towards the hometown celebration, please feel free to contact them and get in contact with the clerk. We could use it. Lastly, I was not able to make, because there was people not at work, I was not able to make the event for the fire department. I was at one once before. It was very cool. And I'm sorry to each one of them that I was not there. But congratulations to each of them that has moved up. A couple of those appointments have been long time coming, or I should call them promotions. But pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. That's all I got.
Chief Chamberts, can you talk again about Saturday night's event, what that is for? That was pretty quick. I didn't quite catch part of that.
Sure. That's our extrication fundraiser. So it's one of our big fundraisers for our association. We have a firefighters association. which is separate from the fire department, and it's just a fundraising area, so. We use some of that money for training, for equipment that's not budgeted for, just to enhance the fire department, so.
Great. People just come to the door and pay and,
Yeah, there's I believe it's just an entry fee, and that gets you dinner, and then dancing, and then we have a bunch of raffle prizes and door prizes and all kinds of stuff, so.
President Vanderstilt, on the corporate donations, is there a form that corporations
Yep.
need to fill out, and it's on the village website?
Yep.
Okay,
I'll get it sent out to the trustees. The clerk has it.
okay.
If you
great.
contact Darlene, she'll get it to you. I think the deputy clerk probably has it too.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This meeting's adjourned.
14 minutes.